Welcome back to the Normal Sports Show. My name's Kyle Porter. I am here with Hayden Martin, who has become a bit of a co-host on here. Hayden, how we doing?
Doing good, KP. Yeah, I don't know. Co-host just threw me off there. I was just saying you needed somebody to
Rattled?
You need somebody to listen to the takes you'll be spewing out, and I'm happy to sit here and give you a platform to speak those takes into existence. So yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah,
happy to talk about some
I appreciate
golf with
that. Do you get excited about Zurich Classic Week, about team golf? Like, where are you at with that? You're more of a what's going on at 4 a.m. on the European Tour guy anyway. But does that juice you up at all?
The Zurich Classic does not juice me up, maybe like it used to. Once they got rid of the walk-up songs, I just don't have as much interest in this guy. I don't know. No, it's so hard to, in a stage of life where you've got a job, you've got kids, you've got other responsibilities, like you just can't be on every week. This is a week for me that I'm not going to be locked in to the Zurich Classic. I may catch some during the weekend, but this is such a weird stretch in the PGA Tour schedule of, it's between majors. Like you want to see who's playing well, but then you get a week like this where it's like, I don't know what I can take from this week. And I know it's like, it's fun and it's different. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know.
Well, it's a weird. I was thinking about this, the rhythm of the schedule, and we're about to talk about some of this, but the rhythm of the schedule is bizarre to me because I was craving, and I think everybody was craving golf leading into the Masters, and it's like tier 2, tier 2, tier 2. And now that the Masters is passed and people are it's like this come down, and all of a sudden you're hit with tier 1, and then you get Zurich, and then tier 1 PGA Championship. And there has to be a better rhythm. And I don't know if the PGA Tour is going to change things or figure this out, but there has to be a better rhythm, I think, between these majors. It's like imbalanced right now, and it doesn't make a ton of sense. I did see there's a 58 that was shot in the first round at Zurich. If you and so I'm at 10, you're what, a 7?
I don't know, something like that. I haven't played golf in 6 months, but yeah.
If you and I were to play the Zurich Classic from their tees, what do you think we could put together on a best ball score? Hitting cups, the whole deal.
You and I on a best ball, like 72 would be incredible. I mean, we would probably be 75.
I was going to say 75, which would be 8 back of the worst score so far as we record this.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, even like hearing they shot 58 today. Like, what is that supposed to, like, I guess, is that impressive? Like, I don't know. Like, seems, but I don't know. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Okay. Let's talk about Seed Golf. We are sponsored today by Seed Golf. We will talk about them in a little bit. They make golf balls. They make great golf balls. They've been a long time sponsor of both the podcast and just Normal Sport in general. So we'll talk about them a little bit more in the middle of the show. Hayden, I wanted to do basically just stories that we're kind of paying attention to this week. So midweek, no huge like overarching what does this say about like golf history type stuff, but just like what's going on this week and kind of our takes on it. And so, I've got like 5 or 6 stories that I wanted to throw at you and would just chop it up. First thing I wanted to do though, just because we're dudes sitting around talking about golf, just name a random baseball player. Just first name that pops into your head when I say name a random baseball player.
Dudes sitting around talking about golf, so let's name a random baseball player.
Well, a golfer would have been too on the nose.
No, it would have been. Plus, I think you and I bonded over some late 90s, early 2000s baseball player. I'm going to throw out my favorite 6-fingered pitcher, Antonio Alfonseca, who gave me one of the great memories of my life, my 10th birthday. I went to a Cardinals-Cubs game. I lived in St. Louis at the time. He threw me a ball pregame. I had like a sign for like my birthday. Threw me a ball pregame. It was awesome. And then he was pitching for the Cubs at the time. And then the Cubs were beating the Cardinals like 9-3 in the ninth inning. The Cardinals scored 6 or 7 runs in the ninth inning to win the game, and Alfonseca gave up a walk-off bomb to Edgar Renteria to it was incredible. I think they scored 6 or 7 runs in the bottom of the ninth, on my birthday. One of just core memories for me as a kid. So I just have this special spot in my heart for the man with 12 fingers, however many he had. But
he did. He had 6 on each hand. What do you think Antonio Alfonseca career salary was?
In golf terms?
Well, no, just give me a number.
Just a number. I was just going to name out a random baseball or golfer. Alfonseca, I have no idea. 5 million?
He made $15.7 million.
15 million. Golly. It's like Brian Campbell last year, probably. That's incredible. 15 million? How long did Alfonseca
Seems like a lot.
play?
Some of these seem maybe unsubstantiated or unconfirmed numbers here. There's a lot of question marks on his baseball reference page, literal question marks.
He pitched almost 600 games.
Yeah, he played for 10 years, so that would make sense. He pitched 592 games, 613 innings.
Not a starter. Started 0 games. What a life. Yeah. Just coming out of the pen.
He did have 35 wins.
Yeah. Although I was there for one of his most crushing losses, I'll tell you that.
Antonio Alfonseca. What a pull there. I'll go with Brett Boone.
The often forgotten
Mariners. Who else was he played for the Mariners for a long time?
Yeah.
Who else did he play for? Twins. Yeah, his brother was everybody in their family played the major leagues, it seems like.
Isn't that crazy? Just how you can have the odds of making it in a professional sport just feels so statistically small. And then I think about the Højgaard twins, but to have that come from the same family. I don't know.
Yeah, his dad, his granddad, his brother, Seattle, Cincinnati, Atlanta, San Diego, Minnesota.
Gosh, yep. That's a name I probably haven't thought about in 15 years.
He's a hitting coach for the Texas Rangers right now. How about that?
I probably should have known that.
Did not know that. Actually, he might not be anymore. He was last year, so he might have got let go. Okay. Name a random baseball player. First story for In Golf this week. PGA Tour is leaving Hawaii. You posted this in our Slack channel. If people are normal club members, they can join our Slack channel. We chop it up all day, post ridiculous things in there. But yeah, it's, I think everybody knew this was coming, but it's weird that it's here, I think, just because the PGA Tour has been such an institution in Hawaii over the last 50, 60 years, specifically with Sony, but also, I think in more modern times, the Tournament of Champions has become such a opening day staple. There's numerous opening days, but I think for sickos, it was Kapalua that was the opening that was opening day for us, and yeah, it's not there anymore. What was your? You probably weren't surprised, but what was your takeaway whenever you saw this?
Yeah, when it came out, part of me was like, "Did this already happen or no?" Because I think it had felt so inevitable that it was coming after getting it canceled this year, or having Kapalua canceled this year. I think just bummed. I think it's such a fun part of the golf season for, people who are, I don't know, sickos, whatever the word is, people who just love to watch golf. Mm-hmm. Because it is even though the tour kind of always keeps going through the fall, it's such a long schedule. I kind of tune out that part of
Yeah.
the season from a PGA Tour perspective. I watch, especially in the fall, I watch a lot more European Tour. It's just
Totally.
more fun in the fall. So like by the time January comes around, most of the country is not playing golf at that point. Where we are in Dallas, occasionally we can get out. We try to play on New Year's Eve every year if we can, but it's such a fun week. Yeah, it just gets me excited about golf. I just love seeing Maui. I love seeing Kapalua. A lot of fond memories from that tournament, seeing tee shots, on 17 and 18 that just roll and roll. I think about, Bubba going driver on 18 with the pink driver, however many years. Like there's just, it's fun to have these courses that you go back to every year because you just start to have that bank of memories of shots.
Yeah.
And like you see somebody getting ready to hit a shot and you're like, oh, I remember when, Spieth blew this way right on 18. You just have like all all this context, and I don't know. It's just I was bummed, but yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, I think so. A couple things. One, I was thinking back to the fact that they just canceled Kapalua this year, which was a very normal sport thing. Like imagine if it was, I know this is not the same thing, but if it was like storming during an NFL game, they're like, oh, we're just going to cancel the game. Like we just can't play this game.
Or like they felt like the grass wasn't green enough on the field.
Yeah.
And they canceled the game. Right?
Obviously
they're
that
just
was
like,
the actual issue.
Hey, we don't think that like Soldier Field has green enough grass for week 1. We're just going to go ahead and skip it and start on week 2.
It is a crazy, like not postpone it, not play it at a different time, but just not play it at all. Like that was so weird. So I was reflecting on that. And then I think the main thing I was thinking about, I agree with you about all the Hawaii stuff. I think it's, especially Kapalua for me, was like, oh, this is like a top 5 PGA Tour event, like outside of the majors. It's sick. It's awesome. It's it's different. It's different than TPC Sawgrass or Harbor Town or whatever. But I think, the differentiation is part of what made it very good. And I think the thing I'm worried about is this is it seems like a little bit of foreshadowing of, hey, new PGA Tour, we're only making decisions that make financial sense. We have private equity now. And I'm not saying that I don't even think they've spent any of that private equity, but I think there's I have some fear of, okay, do you lose some of your, this is a hard balance because we've been saying like scarcity, and they're moving toward that. But then when they start doing that, you're like, wait a second, like not that one or not, not this one. I fear that the more you make decisions rooted in, okay, does this make financial sense? The more you lose some of the soul of your enterprise. And that's not just a PGA Tour thing. That's not just a golf thing. That's any business, any entity. And so that's the part where I'm like, I get it. I think it probably like if you look at a spreadsheet, I'm sure it makes a ton of sense. But I worry about going too far down that path to where you can't unwind that. And then all of a sudden you're just having 18 events at these 3 courses that you built in Florida because that makes the most financial sense or whatever from the PGA Tour's perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think like it's almost like the sense of like, because most of the sports world isn't paying attention to golf at that point. Like the people who are watching this tournament just like love golf, right? Like the only reason you're watching it, or you live somewhere where you're under snow and you just want to see what it looks like. And I think like that's been such a unique, like there's all these conversations about like, there's a tournament every week. Like, why do we have this much golf? Like it doesn't need to be on. But there's also like a sense, at least for me as like someone who loves golf, of like also knowing it's going to be there every week is kind of like comforting, or I don't know if comforting is the right word, but like it's just kind of nice to always have something I know will be there. I agree with you. Like even this like I'm trying to think of the right word, just concentration of events and making everything smaller, again, makes sense financially, I'm sure. And I think it also, my other concern is that like you lose even more of this aspect of like the global game of golf. Hawaii is
Yeah.
obviously a part of America, but it also feels like when you start the year out there, like it is a bit of like an adventure to somewhere else that these guys are going to play, and like we're losing that. And like, is the PGA Tour just going to be concentrated to, like you said, Florida, right? Or you might have Texas, Florida, California. Like it just feels like as we lose these events, does there need to be an event or in Iowa? I'm not trying to call it the John Deere, but like it is hard just as you lose these things. Exactly what you said of like, wait, not that event. I like that one.
Yeah. I know.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how they avoid that.
Well, I mean, if you just playing this out in a spreadsheet, if you're the tour or Brian Rollap or whatever, it's like, oh, well, we'll just end up with TGL. Like that's the cheapest option. And like, let's get a I mean, like if you play, like I'm being ridiculous, but if you play it all the way out, then you just end up with TGL, and you're like, well, wait a second, like, and I sympathize with how difficult it is to do the scheduling and how little sense Hawaii probably made from a financial perspective, but it's hard because you're like in some. The tour, like if Brian Rollap was here, he'd probably be saying, I thought you guys wanted fewer events. And it's like, well, yeah, but can we pick them? Like, can we pick and choose? Like, and I know that's not how it works. So, yeah. Okay. Second story that we're following this week. Brody Miller of this podcast came on a couple months ago. He went to LIV Mexico last week and wrote a really great piece from the grounds at LIV Mexico. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, Hayden, but it was very thorough in terms of reporting on LIV's future and how he was kind of accosted by a security guard down there. There was a lot of pretty crazy stuff in there, but I'm sure you saw snippets if you didn't read the whole thing. So any big takeaways from that piece?
I mean, the security guard part of that, like when I was first reading the article, it was like, I finished that paragraph and I went back. I was like, wait, what happened? Like,
yeah.
I had to read that again. It's crazy. Like, you showed him a picture of his face, of his athletic headshot, as a security issue. I don't know. That piece was crazy. Also, I love the fact that they sent him out there, right? As this news was breaking on whatever Tuesday. Like, I love that there are still people, boots on the ground, who are going to fly to that event and give us the reporting of what it was like. I mean, the whole article is just kind of fascinating. Even like the DeChambeau Rahm, the picture of their conversation on the putting green. No idea what they're talking about. Like, they could have been talking about Bryson's YouTube page. That's why Bryson was so animated. Like, we don't know. But the fact that conversation was happening and other players were watching, I mean, I feel like when it comes to LIV, as myself, somebody who just doesn't really know what's going on, like, it's just hard to trust any information that comes from them because it just feels like it's often so self-protective that I don't know. I really enjoyed Brody's piece because here's what I see as an unbiased source going out there. I don't know if he is, but it seems that way. And just kind of boots on the ground reporting was enlightening.
This is a sidebar, but I think, as we were just talking about AI before we jumped on this podcast, which is like a conversation amongst a lot of people that are our age and in the workforce, and, you're talking about it every day. The two things in in this space that AI, I don't think will ever be able to do, at least to the extent that humans can, is one, reporting like this. You can't send a computer out to LIV Mexico, right? I don't think, at least not yet. And then two is like, and I've talked about this extensively, and it's not as related to this piece in particular, but AI can't have heart. You can't write or talk or podcast or do video with heart, because it literally does not have feeling, soul, heart, whatever. But as I'm talking about this piece, it's more related to the reporting part. So yeah, all that to say, like, Brody did such a great job of going out. There was a couple things that stood out to me, other than being accosted by the security guard, which is crazy. Although probably not that crazy, given LIV's history. The league reportedly spends $100 million a month, which is just a staggering amount of money every 4 weeks. I mean, $100 million. I just, as they move forward, clearly without public investment fund money, and they're going to have to take this to, hypothetically, real investors. I don't know what the pitch is. The pitch is right now, hey, we spent $100 million and we don't really have Bryson locked up, and we don't know what our path to sustainability is.
Yeah.
Like, I keep saying this, but you're not going to get a rational investor to jump into that. It's a little bit I was thinking about this, Hayden. It's a little bit how Netflix, how when you would have these shows that Netflix license, like Friends or The Office or whatever. Yeah. And after a year or two or however many they were licensed for, they would go away. So that's how I think about Bryson and Rahm and Brooks Koepka.
Mm-hmm.
But during that time, Netflix was building up its own content library. They were making their own shows. They were doing their own stuff. And it's like, well, LIV has done the Netflix model, but they haven't made their own shows. Like, they don't have they haven't developed their own guys. And so you're left with, if Bryson and Rahm and these guys end up not, either you have to pay them and you have no sustainable model, or you don't pay them and you have a bad European tour.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm worked up about that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know. The numbers have always been so staggering when it comes to LIV, whether it's investments or from a revenue perspective or lack of revenue. Like, just those numbers are, always staggering. And even to, like, your point about the Netflix thing, I do think, like, they've tried it, right? Like, they are trying to develop some of these young guys. Like, I think about Lasasso or right. But, like, why sign those guys, right? That would have been their goal, right? Is to build, or McKibben, whoever, like, those young guys are that they're trying to build
Chikara
and create. Well, that one didn't go as well. But, like, I don't know. It has never made sense to me. But that's because, like, I think I can only think in terms of like rational sort of, I'm not gonna say rational actors, but like the purpose I think we've known for, at least for the PIF for LIV, has not always been about like turning a profit or making a revenue, right? There's other things involved that, like, I don't understand. I'm sure other people have a better sense of. But $100 million a month is like, I can't wrap my head around that. Like, those numbers don't compute for me, like, don't make sense, I
mean, it's like think about this. It's like a Marvel movie. You're creating maybe a Marvel movie every 2 months. We'll give it like $200 million to create Black Panther or whatever. And, those are the types of entertainment products that go on to make, double the money or 1.5 or break even or whatever. And there's just no, like, LIV's just not doing. I mean, it's not even close. The other thing that stood out to me in the piece was there was a section in there about how they're generating $500 million a year in sponsorships. So this was like HSBC and Salesforce and Under Armour, and I can't remember all the companies. And I reached out to somebody who's kind of been reporting, not Brody, but somebody else who's been reporting on this stuff and been around it. And this person's response was like, yeah, but how many of those companies are not PIF-backed company? Like how many of those companies that are like he said, laundering money into LIV are like actual companies and not also backed by the PIF. So we need to chill on some of those numbers. I think like that's a number that Scott O'Neill has been rolling out there a lot, and it's like, yeah, like it might be a real number, but consider the sources that it's coming from.
Yeah, well, that actually, for me, that gives some clarity, because when I read that and I saw those companies, I was just like, wait, they're giving how much? Like,
Yeah,
I thought
that's
a
not
PGA Tour sponsorship was expensive, but like,
yeah,
but that makes a lot more sense.
yeah,
Thinking
totally.
of it through those terms. I don't know, man.
Okay,
It's
third
crazy.
story. Yeah, it is. Third story. We're gonna stay in LIV, a little more lighthearted. Your Smash GC boys rebrand as
As the former Oklahoma State writer, you can't put Smash GC on me. You were so excited, I know, about this, from the colors they chose, like all of it. Like, this is totally you.
It's so funny. Somebody pointed this out. Scott O'Neill just gets done saying like, oh, we're gonna be in, we wanna bet on the 8 billion people that are in other parts of the world that are not the United States. And like 3 days later, they have one of their teams rebrand as Oklahoma Golf Club. And you're like, well, I I don't know if those things are compatible, man. Like, I don't know if that works. I was laughing so hard just to myself at the idea that, you have Taylor Gooch is obviously running the show here and somehow has ended up as like the chief whatever captain of this whole thing. And now you have a lineage of, athletes from Oklahoma that it's Kevin Durant, it's Barry Sanders, it's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and it's Jason Kokrak. And you're like, what are we doing? It is
It's
such
awful.
it's not even, I actually didn't mind the colors, although rebranding as an Oklahoma team that's using basically Texas orange, it was pointed out that's a little weird. It just doesn't, the whole thing feels very like the whole league feels very hodgepodge. Like we've got, the South African, the Rhinos over here and the Oklahoma team. Like what are you? Are you a global entity, global league? Are you trying to do TV in the US? And I think there's a business lesson in there of like, you got to be focused, man. Like you have to stay focused on what your thing is. And I think they've just struggled with that. And I empathize with that as somebody who owns a business. It's hard to stay focused. And this was just another example of like, I don't know if this is it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. To your point about, just the interview that Scott O'Neill did, where he was just talking about like the goals of LIV are not focused in America. That's what it has seemed, right? Having these national opens and hosting in countries like South Africa, and I'm just like imagining, can you imagine it like LIV Hong Kong? Like, is there just going to be OKGC gear just flying off the shelves? I I
Right
can't
next to
wrap
the
my head
capes.
around the capes. The capes would be great. Yeah, we might want to give some free capes. But like, are we gonna have cowboy hats? Like, I don't know what it's gonna be. But to just the timing is just like, guys, we probably could have held off a little longer on this one.
The timing is very tough.
Yeah.
And I think this is one that we'll look back on in 40 years and be like, Jason Kokrak and Graham McDowell representing Oklahoma,
And I'm sure this has been in the works for months, if not longer, right? Like, I know that Taylor Gooch probably has wanted this as long as he's been the Smash captain. But like, yeah, the PGA Tour is not known for having the best timing. I think about Jay Monahan doing those CNBC interviews, during COVID, saying how strong they are. I don't know. Just, feels like, guys, we probably should have just held off maybe another month at least. But who knows? Just GMAC, proud Irishman, just representing the state of Oklahoma. which I also had to look up. I had completely forgotten who Harold Varner was. Like, I know who Harold Varner is, but like, I forgot that was a person that existed until I saw this press release.
Yeah. Taylor Gooch, by the way,
Crazy.
where do you think he's ranked in the Data Golf rankings right now? Actually, I'm going to give you some names. I want you to tell me if he's ranked ahead of or behind these people. Let's go with Johnny Kiefer.
Johnny Kiefer. I'll say behind.
He's ranked ahead of Johnny Kiefer. Ben On.
Okay. Ben, I'm going to say ahead of Ben On.
He's ahead of Ben On.
Who I also
Sergio Garcia.
About. Surely he's ahead of Sergio.
He is.
Okay.
Let's go with Andy Sullivan.
The Bumblebee, man. Andy Sullivan's kind of played well this year, I think, because I think Shotgun Star's been joking about him being on the next Ryder Cup team. I'm going to say behind.
He's behind Andy Sullivan. Let's go with Zach Blair.
Speaking of Zach Blair in Hawaii, I posted that video. I think about that shot at the Sony Open all the time where he hits the 3-wood on 18.
What did he say? What was his
my
phrase?
Gosh, that is so good. And it's like 15 yards short, but then it just like rolls right up next to the pin. Anyway, I'm going to say he's got to be ahead of Zach Blair.
He's behind Zach Blair.
Oh, so what is he ranked?
Last one, Blades Brown.
Blades Brown might jump after this Zurich week. I think he's playing with Koiven, somebody. Not Koiven. I don't know who he's playing with. I don't know. Ahead.
He's behind Blades Brown. He's ranked 149th in the world. Cameron Chingali, Bo Hostler, Taylor Gooch, Michael Johnson, Cooper Dossie, Richard Lee, Zach Boshu, SHK.
Michael Johnson?
Schmidt. Yeah, not the 400.
Not the sprinter?
Runner. Yeah.
Michael Johnson's a golfer. That's news to me. I feel like I know a lot of golfers.
Turned pro July 2016. He's on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Okay. What do you think Taylor Gooch is ranked in his head in the world? Like, is he a top 10 player? In his mind?
For sure. That whole thing was like, you get, and this infuriates me. I've made this argument about Rory before, but like when like people would try to say like, Ricky Fowler was kind of like the American Rory. And it's like, oh, you don't understand ball. No. Like you have no idea here, you know? And some of the Taylor Gooch stuff was like, oh, like you don't understand any of this. It was so absurd. But congrats on the rebrand.
Yeah. It's fun.
Okay. Let's talk about Seed Golf. Seed Golf is sponsoring this podcast. They make golf balls, and they make great golf balls. Seed began in 2017 and probably makes the best golf balls you've never heard of. They've recently taken the plunge to launch in the U.S. market, and we're delighted to have them as partners here at Normal Sport because their aim is to bring premium performance golf products to golfers of all abilities for less. In other words, same performance, half the price. Go check them out at seedgolf.co. I just put in a big order of golf balls with Seed, and they're going to have Norman's face all over them. So if you live in Dallas, you'll probably find a bunch of those at local public courses that Hayden and I frequent. So yeah, check them out. Use those balls when you find them, and thanks to them for sponsoring the Normal Sports Show. Okay, a couple more here, Hayden. Let's go with the Masters ratings story. Did that do anything for you? James Colgan wrote about this. Ratings were up in 2026, which is weird until you realize that a lot of the numbers in 2026 are including what's called big data, which sounds made up, but it's basically Nielsen bringing in smart TV watching, streaming, different things like that probably better reflect how many people are actually watching these events than just like, their old school way of, hey, we put our box in 100,000 homes and based on that polling, like this is how many people we think watch. So Did the ratings thing do anything for you as it relates to the Masters?
Honestly, I feel like it only confused me further into how TV ratings are done and what they mean. Yeah. I mean, do I think that now, having read that Masters ratings were up this year, that this Masters was, I don't know, somehow better, or people took more from it? Like, I don't know. I like, in my head, I was like, was the Rory Amazon documentary, or was like Full Swing? Like, were there like new fans that were just excited to watch the Masters? Like, I don't think so. Was maybe The Miz is bringing more people to the Masters, and Kevin Hart is bringing a huge audience on Sundays. For me, like, no, TV ratings have never done anything for me. Even like when, like, I know people joke about like the LIV ones, but like, for me, as just like an idiot, I just don't know what they mean, and doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, for people that didn't see it, the LIV Mexico Sunday number, it was FS1, so obviously very different than being on CBS or NBC or whatever. It was like 70,000 people, which is, or no, 50,000 people. It was whatever. It was under 100,000.
49.
And it was 49,000. And that's a tough scene. I think I was actually still surprised about the Master stuff. I thought it would be, even with the big data or whatever, I thought it would be lower than 2025 just felt so, it felt like it broke contain in the broader sports world of like, hey, almost like when you're watching the Belmont to see if a horse wins the Triple Crown. You're like, I don't know, like, what? I don't know anything about horse racing, but if a horse is racing for the Triple Crown, like, for sure I'm tuning in to see that. That's historical. And that's what 2025 felt like with Rory at the Masters, and 2026 didn't feel like that at all. And so I was pretty surprised at the fact that it still outdid the 2025 ratings. But yeah,
Is that
I'm
comparison? Is it apples to apples from 25 to 26, or is it?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, the big data, the big data stuff adds in. So throughout this whole year, you're going to see, ratings at Harbortown were up X percent, and it's like, well, yes, technically, because we're still using Nielsen as the system to do the ratings, but also like they're doing things differently, so it's not going to be apples to apples throughout the year. Okay, a couple more here. This was the other thing from the Brody piece that was a takeaway, and it kind of broke contain a little bit on Twitter when I put it out there. But basically, Bryson is threatening, I don't know if threatening is the right word. He is saying that he will play YouTube golf only, and play at the major championships. And whether you believe that's a negotiation tactic or not, Brody is reporting that is currently what's going on, which just delighted me to no end. I could not get enough of that. I can't get enough of that. It would be, people were like, oh, he would never do that. That's a negotiation. Michael Kim said, I have a hard time believing this. You can't replace real competition reps. Breaking 50 with LeBron isn't the same as going against Scottie at Hilton Head, obviously. Nice negotiation tactic, but winning majors is his main goal, and playing on the PGA Tour is the best way to get ready. Respect Michael Kim, love Michael Kim. I don't know if winning majors is Bryson's main goal. I think it is a goal of his. I think he has stated publicly that his main goal is to grow the game and to take it global and like all these different things. I would not put this past him. Would you put it past him to do this?
I wouldn't put anything past Bryce. Like, I think we're at the point where, you can't put expectations on what Bryson is going to do. Bryson's going to do whatever he wants to do. I have not followed like the Bryson YouTube experience, so like, I don't know what all that entails. It's insane to me thinking that could work, right? Like, it's crazy to think that somebody could not play competitively. Maybe the YouTube golf tour, whatever is getting built, will be enough competition for him. I have no idea. Also, will he be allowed to play in that? Like, would they even let him play in that? Because he's so good. But like, I mean, I read Michael Kim's tweet and, he's like, this isn't how golf works. Like, you need to play the PGA Tour or some competitive tour, to be ready. I agree with that, but I just how are we gonna expect Bryson to think rationally? To me, that is not how he operates. So I'm fascinated. I love when Bryson's around. I love when he's in majors. I love getting to watch him, and I hope we continue to get to see that. So I don't know, man. It's he's such a psycho, but
I saw a great tweet the other day. This was by Josh Culp, Future of Fantasy, and he said there are always more than two sides to the coin when it comes to Bryson. You ask where will he play, and he responds with an entirely new career.
Honestly, yeah. Like it's not an either or option with Bryson. There's something else.
Yeah,
but I was super disappointed with the Masters. Not like disappointed, not like I wanted him to win, but like it's just fun when he's around. Because I'm like, totally. Oh, I hope he doesn't win. Like I'm hoping I think, but like I want to see him there.
I think one thing that sort of gets lost in all this is these guys are so. I mean, confident is one word for it in their own abilities. That I think that Bryson thinks like I could do this. Like I could play YouTube golf and be a YouTube golfer and do everything related to the business side of that and growing the game and whatever he wants to call it. And I can also contend in major championships. And to be fair, like, I don't know that YouTube golf is that different than what he's been doing the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is, I think it's less, you're not going against, in YouTube golf, you're not going against Rahm and Brooks and Patrick Reed and all the people that are on LIV. But I don't know. I think, I think about what LKD said to me about Rory in, I think it was a podcast episode we did last year where he said, I think guys should play in a way that is like life-giving for them. And so his point was Rory should try to hit all these crazy shots because that's like what is delight. Like he can't be Tiger or Scottie and just pound the middle of greens. Like that doesn't juice him up. And I almost think that with Bryson, it juices him up to do the YouTube thing. And so like maybe I don't know, maybe he could do it. Like he's not, Michael Kim is thinking like a rational professional golfer and Bryson's not rational about, I mean, he's so different that it almost feels like it could work.
Yeah. And I think too for him, like I think about how much YouTube is like he has become like this new person. And in the YouTube world, like, it's kind of got that like Instagram aspect to it where it's edited, like it's not like real. Like I think at Mexico, like where he had the outburst about the grass and like he still has these moments where you're like, oh yeah, like you've kind of always been told that like you're the man or like you can do these things and I think like the YouTube part of that is like it's shown him that like people want more of this, but then when you get him out into a unedited kind of competitive landscape, it's almost like detrimental because he loses some of that control or that narrative. I don't know. It was not surprising to see that this weekend, but it was like a good reminder of like, oh yeah, like I remember this, Bryson.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, last thing here. I saw this chart. I'm showing it to you on as we record this, but it's a chart. Kurt Goldsberry tweeted this out. It's a chart of the most playoff points scored in NBA history. That's the y-axis, and the x-axis is the most playoff minutes played in NBA history. And so you've got all these names down here at the bottom left, like Paul Pierce and James Harden and Hakeem Olajuwon and Steph Curry and Dirk and D Wade and Rick Barry. And you start to go up and to the right, and it's like Durant and Karl Malone and Tim Duncan and Jordan. And then you go up and to the right more, and there's nobody, and up and to the right more, and there's nobody, and up and to the right, and you finally get to LeBron at whatever it is, almost 9,000 points in 13,000 minutes. It's a preposterous chart. Did you see this on Twitter?
I did not see this. This is the first time I'm seeing it, but it's insane. Like the scale of how far ahead he is.
So I threw some data golf metrics into ChatGPT on Tuesday or on Wednesday, and had it look at wins. So I made wins one of the axes, and strokes gained as the other axis, and I threw everybody in there. And so you get this is the last, I think it's 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. So you get names like Shane Lowry and Justin Thomas and Tyrrell Hatton and Matt Fitzpatrick kind of at the bottom left. Like they've won, they have good strokes gain numbers. Bryson's on there, Hideki. You go up and to the right a little bit more. You start to get into the Rahm and the Rory. Joaquin Niemann is kind of an outlier here. I think ChatGPT put his circle in the wrong spot. He's supposed to be a little further to the left on the wins axis, but he is a little bit of an outlier in terms of wins because he's won so much on LIV. So you go up and to the right more, and there's nobody. You go up and to the right more, there's nobody. You go up and to the right as far as you can go. Scottie Scheffler, 16 wins, 3.21 strokes gained per round over the last 3 years. This is a very LeBron-like chart, and to see how much further up and to the right he is than Rory and Rahm and Xander and Bryson is pretty staggering.
I think it's just so easy to I don't know if it was you talking to with Dylan DeShare on the last podcast, but it's just so easy to lose context in the week to week, like when talking about Scottie. Yeah, and I think a chart like this where it's a different conversation. Like you just kind of can't really compare the other guys with him. I mean, we can talk about Rory and his performances in majors over the last couple of years. Well, I mean, really just the Masters, but like Scottie's performance, even like just to show up every week and to dominate like in the way that he does, it's just, I just view him so differently from like any other player. And it's also hard to like do that in the moment because like, I think at least for myself, it's like, no. Like you can't be like too, I don't know, irrational about like talking about it. Cause like, obviously people are like, he's not Tiger. And I understand he's not like Tiger in the sense of like what he maybe is going to do for golf long-term. But like from a playing perspective, like, at this point, like, I don't know how you can say, like, he's not Tiger-esque in the way that he is playing, in the way that he is dominated. Because it's not like he's, like, missing... It's not boom or bust either. Or, you know, like, it's just always really good.
I think the best representation of that is how much better... Like, Rory's been incredible the last 3 years. Like, really good. And I think we've talked about this, he's a top, whatever you want to say, 8, 10, 12 player of all time, which is like what Phil was to Tiger, right? Like Phil on this chart, or Rory on this chart is where Phil was when Tiger was where Scottie was. And I think that's the part where it's like, okay, forget about wins and strokes gained and all that stuff. I mean, don't forget about it, but put that aside and just look at how much better he's been than Rory, who's having one of the better stretches of his career in terms of the last 2 or 3 years. That part to me is just like, holy cow! Like, what is this? And you got to show up. You got to have the longevity that Rory and Phil and Tiger had. But if you continue on that, not even getting better, but just staying somewhat close to where you're at, then the numbers after 7, 8, 9, 10 years will be pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. And I think that for me is like always in my mind of like, I just kind of keep waiting for it to fall back a little bit. Like when you say like, if this is sustained for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, like, we're easily talking about a top 10 golfer of all time. I think it's like always in my mind of like, is this sustainable? Like, just looking at like his entire career, it just feels so different because a guy like Tiger or like Rory, like just was always like he's going to be unbelievable. Like they almost like met the expectations that people had for him, which is incredible in itself. With Scottie, like when Scottie was a junior golfer, or even at Texas, like I know it was like, man, he could be a really good PGA Tour player. But like, who was like thinking that like, no, we're possibly seeing the next Tiger Woods? Like, he didn't have those accolades. I remember following him he was at a Korn Ferry Tour Q School event here in Dallas, I think at Firewheel.
Mm-hmm.
He was like paired with Tony Romo.
At Firewheel?
And at Firewheel, Bridges. And I went out and just like walked with like that group because it was like, oh, Tony Romo. And I knew who Scottie Scheffler was because he had just, turned pro. And like, if you had told me in that moment that this would be the greatest golfer probably of this generation, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know, he's just grinding for his card on the Korn Ferry Tour. I don't know. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And I think what you said is a great point of it's easier to envision sustained success from people that were predicted to have a very high level of success, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's Tiger, Rory, Phil, I would throw in there for sure.
Yeah.
Probably Ernie Els, a lot of, not a lot, but the handful of guys that you're like, Adam Scott, you could throw in there. It was like, oh yeah, like this guy's going to be unreal. And so when they are very, very good for 15 or 20 years, you're kind of like, yeah, like that makes sense. And with Scottie, it was like, yeah, he's probably going to be like a good pro. And so you always feel like the other shoe's going to drop of, well, he's not going to sustain this level of success for 15 years, right? And he keeps doing it to the point where it's like, this is like Tiger only did this for 4 or 5 year periods and then he dropped off and then he did it again, which is what makes Tiger Tiger. And so I'm fascinated by it. He has stepped back a little bit this year, which we've talked about. The iron play isn't as good. Dylan and I talked about that, but I mean, he could win 2 of the next 3 majors and everybody would kind of say like, yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, we saw it last year, right? Of knocking off the PGA and then winning the Open. I would not be surprised at all if he won 2 more majors this year.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's all we got. Stories that we're following this week. I'll try to post those LeBron and the homemade Scottie graphic. The LeBron graphic was actually not homemade, but the Scottie one was. So I'll try to put those in the podcast or link to them or something. Maybe I'll put them in the newsletter. If you're not following the newsletter, normalsport.com, check it out. 2 times a week. It's free. It's fun. Would love for you to join the newsletter list and get all of our content. Hayden, thanks for your time today, and we will talk again maybe next week.
Thanks, Kibby.